What should I do with this?
Oh,
I know one who is waiting for this. It's Olof and he's coming from Sweden.
yes, that is true.
And you have promised to introduce yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvie, and thank you, Anthony. Well, for a start, I will tell you that I will not have time to do all the presentation I have prepared, which is not due to the other speakers, but due to that I didn't know how long time we would get. This doesn't matter so much. I think it will be even better this way. But there is available, if you sign a piece, your name on a sheet of paper here before you leave, the conference secretary has promised to copy the speech, the original speech, and you will get a copy probably tomorrow or something. All right. John was talking about a lot of things, among others, action learning. So that gave me a thought. It's a story that Reg Revens once told me. Reg Revens is, as far as I know, the founder of action learning. Reg Revens, he is a man who was born under very, very good financial circumstances, so to say. He was, yes, when he was studying at the university, I don't remember if it was Oxford or Cambridge, he once asked his butler, whom he had brought, of course, to the university to take care of him during the studies. How would you define a gentleman? And this is a story just to show to you how interest have moved from materialistic things to the mind and attitudes and things. So the question was, how would you define a gentleman? And the butler, he thought twice about it, and then he said, a gentleman, that is a man who only wears his shoes once. Yeah. And mind you, those shoes were handmade by shoemakers. And that's actually how the butlers made a living in the university. They sold the shoes afterwards. Now, I was to introduce myself. Have I done that? No. I have only been talking about Reg Revens. I'm Olof Strand. I am a Master of Science in Chemical Technology. I am today working as a teacher in Swedish grammar school, mathematics and science, since 3 years back. Way back earlier, I was also a teacher in the grammar school. In mental training, my background is I, many years ago, took a course for Sven Zetterlind, whom you all know. Later, I have also completed the pumped course with Elizabeth, partly as PM reader. She wasn't too impressed. Can remember that. So much for an introduction. How many of you are teachers? Oh boy, I'm on an insecure ground then. Very well. How many? I presume most of you know what peak performance is all about. So I will not have to go into that. Okay, my interest in peak performance in education, or yes, let me just quote one of my pupils. He told me this when I was interviewing him, and we were actually talking about creativity. So it had nothing to do really with sports or peak performance or anything. But he said this: once in a football tournament, when I was in the 4th grade, I was completely concentrated and cut off from my surroundings when I caught the ball. I heard nothing and I saw nothing. I just saw the ball. I caught it exactly on the line. Directly afterwards, my awareness of my surroundings returned. I can remember the discussions. The opponents argued that it was a goal, but it wasn't. I have that feeling when I throw myself after the ball too. I only see the ball and everything is in slow motion until I have caught it. Then everything is back to normal again. I see clearly, I hear everything, and everything happens in a normal speed. The only difference is that I am in a good mood now and my self-esteem is high. Very often, when I succeed directly, the rest of the game is successful too. Only I would like to stay in that condition until I hit the ground, so I wouldn't hurt myself so much. That's when I actually got the idea that peak performance is, of course, not only a thing in sports, but you should be able to use it in school and in all other aspects of life, really, to perform better. And I had earlier, because I was in the middle of the work, way back, I read in the newspaper that 2 o'clock in the afternoon is the worst time for man, and especially 2 o'clock on Mondays. 2 o'clock Monday afternoon, we had 80 minutes mathematics in 8th grade. And it was a troublesome group of kids, I can tell you. So I had the idea, I brought Sven's original tape with me and let them try relaxation, which many of them liked and wanted to continue. About half of them did not want to continue, and we did this between sessions, so we could actually do it. Well, they could choose whether to participate or not. So that I had been doing. I will later show you the results of this group, because they were the original group, and they were very promising. We had a lot of trouble with them. They were talking, they weren't doing what they should, and they weren't. We had, in Sweden, as most of you know, we have a system with 2 courses of mathematics. Many schools have also the pupils in the better course divided into the best group, the second best group, and, well, the next group. And this was the next group. So it was a good starting point, really, for the experiment. Now, lately, my pupils have been talking to me also about actual peak performance or peak experiences on exams, which I haven't asked them. There is another quotation that I might read to you. Here it is. And this is a girl. She says to me, the day after we had personal development, we had a test in mathematics, a test of what we had covered the past week. The week before, I had no correct answers, but this week, the day after we had personal development, all my answers were correct. That sounds exciting. Tell me more. Well, we had an exam in chemistry, and I did very well in that too. Do you remember anything from when you did the test in mathematics in which you succeeded? No, I'm afraid not. Do you remember the test the week before? Yes, it just wouldn't work. Now she wanted to tell me this because we were talking about something completely different. And this is one of my pupils in one of the present groups. I think I will now show you the results of this group in mathematics, and then we might as well have a short discussion. This is the non-participating pupils. Can you see that? Yes, probably. As you can see, they have improved. The figures in parentheses, they are excluded of the pupils that later choose to the easier course in mathematics. But in both cases, they have improved. And those are the pupils that participated in the relaxation program, and we also actually went into well, I had suggestions in mathematics. I did my own tapes, and we had goal programming before, in which case I helped them with a goal picture if they wanted, but I also taught them how to create the goal picture if they wanted to do that. All the goal pictures I helped pupils with had to do with sports. One pupil, he wanted to get a season without any wound. He had been wounded 3 seasons in a row in football, and he got his season without the wound. Okay, I'm very happy with those results. The funny thing is boy number 7 here, which wasn't so fortunate really. Once I wanted to make a list of those pupils, and this is a list with names. I can well remember them. I still well remember them. But at that time, I couldn't remember his name, probably because it was such a failure for us. So I could easily remember all the pupils that had succeeded. But this boy, whom I really liked, I just couldn't remember his name. Okay, do you have any questions? That's a good question. You mean, yes, could you be a little bit more specific?
How did it look exactly? I mean, pick one example. How did you do these? You do them for playing relaxation?
Oh yes, very good. This original group, we started with relaxation training. We had mathematics in the chemistry hall. So the kids were lying on their backs on the tables, and we had the room dark. No, not dark, but drawn curtains. And then I played the tape for them. And then we had what I call a small talk afterwards. That is, we just had a chat before we started lesson again. Later on, I went on with tapes with goal programming, and then I produced my own tapes with suggestions in mathematics. At that time, I thought for my own safety, it would be better only to use tapes, which I still think, but I don't do it that way anymore, all the same. So that's about all we did. And the report in the group between the pupils and myself was very much approved, really, and the other teachers who were passing outside the door, they talked about this and told me the change of the whole group. And those results, by the way, they are controlled by the 2 other teachers from the 2 other groups. Actually, I took one of the exams from one of my fellow teachers only the morning of the test, because I knew what was coming and I didn't want anyone to suspect me of trying to help the pupils. So that was this group.
What does the suggestion look like?
Yes, that is, firstly, we make just a relaxation program to get into relaxed, what do you call it? Never mind, to get a relaxed state, yes. And then I prepare them before they should have a situation where in their previous life where they have been very much content and they think they have done a very good job. And then I want them to return to that situation. I tell them to return to that situation and leave it through for a short while, which normally is half a minute, I think. And then I ask them to remember the feeling, but leave the situation behind. And instead, on practicing mathematics, they see themselves in the practicing situation in school or in the home and see how they manage to solve the problems correctly. And then, well, they leave the situation in school and practice at home. and so forth. And the suggestions for the exam is they see themselves